Just want to discuss a little the differences between the training system of YGSM, Hybe, and JYP. So I'm going to try and cram everything in one presentation. There's so much actually when I was doing my research. A lot of other trainees actually described how each company would actually do their training, and it's the way each company is different. It's just so interesting, but it all comes down to the owners, the founders of the company. So this is the big four, or the small three and big one, or the big three and the giant one. Anyway, of the three, of the four, three actually started out as performers themselves. So, Isuman, JYP, and YG are all performers. They were singers before. Bang Shiyuk is the only one who started out as a producer songwriter. He's the only one that started out as that. So he was always behind the scene. The rest started on screen. Okay. There are differences in their fundamentals. Basically, what each member, each founder actually is looking for in a trainee. And this all came from them. Okay. I'm going to put all the sources in the live stream description box if you want to go and check out the articles. So for JYP, he said the most important thing is personality. Second is passion for what they do, and third is skill. And this is I think it is paying off, because if you look at all the members, all the artists that he signed under his agency, they're all actually pretty like good people, like nice people. I don't know them personally, so I can say probably nice people, in that they get along well. They have never disrespected her. In general, they don't usually get into like trouble, no criminal records and stuff like that. So I kind of feel that he's honest with that he is looking first. He's looking at the character first more than the skill and more than the passion. Okay. So Yang Yang Suk is different. So he actually said in an interview he does not understand why JYP is actually putting more importance on character when this is work. So for him, talent is first. Second is somebody who works very hard, and then third thing is that that person has to be nice enough to be able to work with him. He said, and this is a quote, and that's the source of the article. He said that if you're a young person, please don't get involved in album planning, because you won't be able to beat me. I have succeeded in 9 of 10 albums. This kind of explains why the albums that they come out that way that they are coming out with. Right? So that's why, for example, 21 and Blackpink, they don't have a say in the creative development of their album, because for Yang Yang Sok, he is the boss. Like he knows the best. So you just go ahead and perform and don't meddle with the planning and the creation of the album. But he's very brave actually in saying this. Either that, or he's just uh he has a lot of confidence in himself to say something like this. Like, you won't beat me. Which is a very different approach when it comes to JYP. Because for Bangchan, I'm sorry for the small spelling. For Stray Kids, for example, Bangchan was given 100% independence with Stray Kids. So the story is according to Bangchan. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Stray Kids as well. So in his early live stream, he actually explained that he's been training. He trained for about 8 years, I think, with JYP. And at some point, JYP didn't know what to do with him. He just knew that he was very, very talented. So he gave Bangchan a chance to form his own group and do whatever he wants with the group, to the point where he's actually, if JYP wants them to sing a song that he wrote, he will have to ask Bangchan. And in their, like, I remember in their show when they were auditioning for it, so it was Bangchan who chose the group. And according to him, he first chose two producers and songwriters because he knew he needed a partner. So Changbin and Han were the first two members, and then he chose everybody around the three of them. But I do remember in one of the episodes in their reality show, he there was a song that JYP said like, that's too high for you. It's not working, so change it. So what Bang Chan did was go back into the studio, um, raise it two bars higher, not two bars higher, but two notes higher, and then he asked Han to actually sing it. So that's like, for him, it's like, this is my group. You're going to give me full autonomy, and that was he has what he has done, which is very different from the approach that Yang Yan Suk actually has with when he manages groups. Now, someone said like, if you're a founder, usually CEO has a big ego. That is true because JYP prior to Stray Kids actually wanted nobody else to produce songs for his groups except him. So he kind of changed a lot with Got Seven, and then eventually with Stray Kids, and then eventually with Twice, because now Twice are actually writing their own the lyrics at the very least. Now for Yisuman, and this is from the words of a Super Junior member. I think it was one of the members of Super Junior who said that for Yisuman, you're a performer. So just enjoy performing. Whenever he chooses somebody, his number one concern is, are you going to be a good performer? Like, will people enjoy watching you on stage? That is his primary concern. That's a one thing that he's always looking for. And in fairness to him, SM actually has some of the best vocalists and dancers out there. So for vocalists, you have Taeyeon, Wendy, Boa, and Luna. Now, you might not like all the quality when it comes to resonance, like the voice itself, like the quality of, not the quality of the voice, like the resonance, like the uniqueness of the voice. Some people will not like some of them. Like for me, of all of this, I like Wendy the most, and then Boa, then Luna, and then Taeyeon. But you can't deny the fact that they are all good vocalists. So IU is not with SM. So they have a track record of actually having some of the best vocalists in the business. Anybody who tells you otherwise, they're just hating, because SM does have some of the best vocalists, and they also have some of the best dancers. So their lead dancers are actually really good. So for TVXQ, it was Yuno, and then they have Kai is a great dancer of XO. So they have some of the great dancers. So it is true that he's looking at a great performer. That's his number one consideration when he's looking for somebody. For Bang Shiyuk, and this he said in one of the documentaries, he said that number one for him is the commitment to their craft. So you need to love what you're actually doing. You need to love art. You need to love music. That's just the primary consideration for him. And the way that they train their artists will actually explain why this is his primary consideration. Second is performance, with special emphasis on dancing, or at least you need to make it appear as if you're a good dancer. But most of their idols are actually great dancers. So commitment to their craft, performance with emphasis on dancing, and then you have to be smart. And he's the only one who actually mentioned it, that you need to be smart to be a member, to be considered. So in summary, this is their, like, the main thing that they're all looking for. For Bang Shiyuk, he wants somebody who's committed to their craft, who loves their craft. Because for him, if you love it, if you're devoted to it, then discipline is going to come next. And once you have discipline, then everything else will follow. Because you would want to make that your priority, right? If you want to succeed, if you really love what you're doing, you are going to design everything else in your life in order to make this one dream work. So that's his center, your love for what you're doing. And then for Yisuman, there's emphasis on singing and dancing. For JYP, it's character first. For Yang Yun Suk, it's talent first. So it's just a little confusing for me what he means when it comes to talent. Okay, what they all have in common is the monthly evaluation. All of them, all of the agencies will have monthly evaluation. It's just that for other agencies, so for example, um, for Hybe, they have monthly evaluations and then they have a quarterly evaluation. But all of them has monthly evaluations. They all provide classes in singing, dancing, acting, modeling, personality development, etc. And when I say personality development, it actually includes like knowing what is your angle, how to pose, how to make yourself look taller, all of those things. Even your mannerisms, like how you're going to look at people, the tone of your voice, all of that you have to learn. Now, critical difference is number one, when you're in Hybe, and this is in their trainee development special, their trainee development documentary, they are the only agency where the trainees are actually in charge of their own schedule. So you will decide, like if you think you're not a very good dancer, then you will have to design your classes so that you can take more dancing classes, dancing whatever. If there is something there that you need to improve on, that there is no there's no regular class on, it is your responsibility to go to your trainer and tell them. So that's, they're the only one that does that. SM is imperative for them to start people young, as early as 8 years old. And I think if I heard it correct, I'm not very sure, but if I heard it correct, the youngest trainee they've ever had was the late Suli, and she started when she was 6. Imagine that. JYP Entertainment, the debut is actually, the trainees are actually divided into two: pre-debut and general trainee. Pre-debut is when they kind of feel like, okay, you're getting closer to get to debuting, so you're going to be grouped somewhere else, like in another group, and that usually has a longer training time, more dedicated, like you're busier and all of those stuff. And the worst thing they said that can happen to you in JYP is to get demoted from pre-debut to general training group. Usually nobody goes back up. So um but that is another thing that is unique for them. Now, in every other group, in every other agency, once they kind of have a group already, they do have an isolated group. Like then they'll group this people, and that will train as like to prepare for debut. But for JYP, they have a special program. When they think your skill is good enough, then they will isolate you. They'll group you in another division so that they can determine where to put you and who to pair you with. Now, for YG Entertainment, the most important thing is for you to fit their sound and aesthetic. So if you do not fit the hip hop kind of vibe, they don't like you. So that's their first screening. If you do not fit that, it's not going to work. Next, why did SM Entertainment did not? Okay, so for Hybe, because they have varied concepts and varied narratives, they are able to actually group. They're able to train many people and swing you on different groups, because they when once they have a concept, then they can like rotate you in different groups and see where you're going to work. So that's one thing unique to them. What did I put in SM? So for JYP, it's always Korean market first. Um, so whatever sensitivity you have, whatever like skill that you have, you always have to look for whether or not you're going to fit the Korean sensibility. For YG, they will make you work. So they maintain a very small team, internal producers and other like composers. They will make you work with a very small team and see if you're going to fit in. um oh, for SM, that's what I put. For SM, it's always to them, whenever they form a group, it's always about what's next, meaning they want to be ahead of the trend. So for EDM, for example, even before everybody started doing EDM, they started doing EDM with TVXQ. So they were ahead of their time. It's just that because they are ahead of their time, and this was during the time of Isuman, because Isuman is actually usually thinking like 5 years ahead. Sometimes people can't understand what it is that they're doing. And by the time they're done with that concept, people are just starting to get into it. So it seems like sometimes nobody gets and understand what it is that they're doing. Then to Hybe, is- third thing, to Hybe, independence is very important. So if they see that you're not improving. So remember, you have control over your own schedule. And if they see that you're not improving, they're going to take you out because they feel like they can teach you the skills. They can help you hone your skills. Sorry, they can help you hone your skills. They cannot make you dedicated to your work. They can force you to be dedicated. They can force you to be disciplined if you are not. So once they see that you're not improving because you're not taking your classes, you're not whatever, then they'll take you out. For SM, you're given consistent roles within the group. So you're either the mysterious one, the talkative one, whoever. So they will fit you, they will give you the role, and you need to consistently play that role even before debut. And then for YG Entertainment, for JYP, it's embodying the Korean values. So you need to act in a way that is pleasing to the general public of Korea. And then for for YG Entertainment, they will be, even before you debut, they already give you a brand, which allows them to market you very well. So right before, even before debut, Blackpink already knew that they are supposed to be sophisticated, high end idols, hard to reach, hard to access, barely there. So, and they have to act a certain way. So, again, it goes back to fitting the YG aesthetics and the YG sound. And this is what they end up producing. For SM Entertainment, it's always about they interchange, they one after the other. So it's formula, and then they'll come up with an experimental group, and then the formula group, and then the experimental group. So for example, girls generation was actually very formula, meaning it is the Korean group. Like, this is the group that Koreans like, this is the feel, the sound that Koreans like. But they want to push forward, and so they came out with FX, and that is where they put all of their experimentation on. So like, okay, let's do experiment and whatever. So do different sounds, different style, different choreography, and they said that that is the cadence. And so that happened with, even with TVXQ, and then EXO, and then NCT. It's experiment, it's the formula, and then experiment and formula again. JYP has always been very good with girl groups. They say that the only reason Girls' Generation actually became popular because Wonder Girls went to the US. But had JYP not pushed Wonder Girls into the US, Girls' Generation wouldn't have been popular because it would have been Wonder Girls. And then they are very bad when it comes to boy groups. The only reason, look at GOT7. When GOT7 was starting, I thought they were going to be the number one competition of um, BTS. And it was so funny because they're very good friends. As you know, Yogyum is a good friend of Jungkook. And then Jackson is a great friend of RM. So I thought in the beginning they were going to be very close to each other, but I guess JYP just don't know how to manage a boy group. And the only reason it works with Stray Kids is because he does not control them at all. As I've said, he gave Bangchan full independence, and Bangchan is really running the show with Stray Kids. And that's why they're able to reach this height and reach this popularity. And they actually already renewed their contract. For YG, they have one concept. In fact, YG himself admitted it. So, when Blackpink debuted, Yang Yan Sok actually said, "I did not really try to create something different. This was also the case when I made 21. YG has its own unique style. So I didn't really try to create another 21 either. It's just the same jacket looked different on other people. So it's the same jacket. It's just that different people are wearing it." So this is what he said. "If you ask me to distinguish Blackpink and 21, I want to say I did not try to make them different. If you ask me what differentiates them from other groups, I will say I did not form them with that in mind. I tried to make the YG version of a girl group like I did with 21. But this time, I wanted the pretty girls to look pretty too with skills. So it's just 21, but prettier. And this guy, Yan Yan Sok, actually called 21 ugly in public and in their faces. That's also one of the reasons I don't like them. But him, Bang Shiyuk starts with the lore. So whatever group he touches, so remember, Hybe is not a label; it's a group of companies. But Bang Shiyuk would sometimes would actually produce the groups. All the groups that he has produced, it always starts with a lore, a well-developed universe before he launched them, and that's their differentiating factor. And that developed because of BTS. That all started with BTS. So that's why they're not in this picture, because it started with them. Okay. So that's how they are different from each other. If you are a trainee, which agency would you choose? Which agency you think would fit you the best? This is so interesting. Ate, now I know why boy girl groups are the way that they are. I have been listening to Stray Kids music and they are good. And the only issue is at some point their song kind of sounded similar. I guess I'm used to the diversity of music. Yeah, so they're I guess it's generational because younger people kind of are into it. So maybe because Gen Z, maybe because it's Gen Z, they kind of like that sound. I like them, by the way. Do all Hybe labels have the same training system? Like a label that is more independent, like KOZ, would have the same standard as Source Music. The same structure when it comes to training, meaning all trainees have the independence to design their own training schedule. They do have trainings that are group, like you're mandated to take certain classes, but by and large you still are designing your own training. So yes, they go through the same process. Okay. Looking for questions. Let's see if you have questions. Ronalyn says, Ate, I actually have a problem. I actually like Stray Kids and got to dive on their discography and find their performances as good as BTS. I got to them on Ordinary Era, but my problem is, what's your problem, Ronalyn? Okay, I'm looking for questions. See, that young seems more like the parents' idea than the child's to become an idol. You mean like 6 years old? There are a lot of one thing that social media is doing is that there are a lot of trainees who you see as early as like six. They show like they would say, I want to become an idol. Like they probably don't know what it actually entails. Like my favorite member of Meow or Meow, Ella Ross, she started very young. She started six. She said that she was already interested. I think she didn't start training until much later, but as early as six, she kind of knew what she wanted to do. She got into modeling first and then started training. Ronalyn said, my problem is when they release their next album and the next one and the next one, I kind look for something new. So there I don't know. Maybe because BTS really hits different. And nangapit bahay lang siguro ako. Nangapit bahay meaning she went to the neighbor's house. So I think, yeah, in terms of nobody has matched BTS when it comes to diversity. That's for sure. And I think it's going to be unreasonable for us to sort of expect anybody to be that diverse when it comes to the sound. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be. Le Seraphim has a very diverse discography, and so is TXT. So TXT does have a hand in the development of their music. Le Seraphim, yeah, I think it's not so. BTS, as RM has already discussed, because I'm going back into all of his lives, all of their past live streams, and he actually mentioned like how they developed the concept, and he mentioned that it does start with them, and then it gets developed. I think for Le Seraphim, they aren't there yet, but they contribute. Like in the development of their lore, they actually have a session where they sit down and they give their inputs and something like that. But admittedly, I haven't watched all of their live streams, so maybe I'm also wrong. But they have a very diverse discography. Kinda rude. Poor 21. I wanted the girls to look pretty. Isn't Got Seven's new label Cacao? What happens to them when Cacao sells their entertainment division? I think they only signed. So JYP actually granted them the rights to their name. So they own the name and they have their own label. So their leader, JB, created a label for that the seven of them owns. So they all co-own that label. Um, and I think they just signed a partnership with Kakao, but they own themselves. What is the responsibility? Me Too question. Me Too is asking. What is the responsibility of Hybe to their labels and groups, and what are the labels' responsibility to their groups? Hybe has several business units that everyone can use. So, for example, they have a PR group, and people can use different labels, can go to that PR group and ask them to do PR for their work, right? So, press release, for example. So, they, instead of each of the labels developing their own PR agency or PR division, then they can tap the PR division of Hybe. That's one. A business development group, for example. So the business development group is the one that looks for brand partnership. So instead of hiring a business development manager or a business development team to look for brand deals, projects, and opportunities, they can tap the business development of group of Hybe. So they all share that resource and other things. So um, they have a team of creative directors, for example, for concerts, which any group can tap if they need one. Who would you join, Fairlane? What would be your artist name? Who would I join? Oh, I thought it was a South Korean girl trainee. I'm probably wrong. Who would I join? Who would you join? This S did SM learn from J-pop because J-pop trainees started training when they're kids too. He was inspired. So you Isuman is the one who started this trainee system. So he did learn from J-pop. He picked up something from J-pop and he also picked up something from Motown. I got isn't got seven's new. Okay, who will I join? I think the one that will fit me best would be Hybe. Second would be JYP. Um, third would be SM. Forget about YG. Um, Hybe because I do like taking control of my own like development. But I also enjoy having the resources that I would need to be able to do what I want to do. So I like that. They also have a huge emphasis on substance. So in the classes that they're taking, they're actually talking about like they actually are given classes on literature, art appreciation, which I like. So yeah. And then for JYP, he seems to be like he's for sure he's not perfect, but judging from the relationship that he has with his idols and the things that his idols say about him, he seems to be like a good leader. I'm sure he has his moments and he's not perfect as I've said, but he seems to be a good person all in all. Okay. I'm the older part of Gen Z, but personally, I don't vibe with Stray Kids music. I do think they're very talented, though. I am not Stray Kids audience. Okay, who would you? Okay, so I answered that. Who I would join? Probably Hybe number one, JYP second, SM is three. SM only if it was Isuman. I don't like the current leadership. Not that I've experienced either. It's just that at least Isuman is kind of visionary. Um, so I feel like there's something in common there. Uh, I really enjoy that series of video. Okay. Okay. I think Hybe America has been doing well with Cat's Eye and giving them their freedom plus the connection. I would go with them. Leia said, I like the odd songs from other groups, but no other took hold of me like BTS. I would fall day one under any other companies. I choose Hybe just to have a chance at interacting with the Kings, aka BTS. With that, with that being said, in the US, an artist's brand is not expendable. How is it so easy for YG to discard 21, whose brand was so strong? It was the rumor, this is a rumor, is that in Filipino, this is called chismis. This is chismis. So this is rumors. They said that it actually, the conflict started with Minzy, which is the youngest member of 21. So when 21 started, I think she was 15. So the contract structure was different because she was a minor, right? So it was very, very different. And when they were about to renew, Minzy wanted the same terms, and YG didn't want to give her the same terms. Add to that, Minzy had some demands, like certain projects that she wanted to do, which YG wasn't cool with, and they let her go. And when she left, that's actually when B- 21 started crumbling, when they lost one member. After that, they just didn't know what to do anymore. It felt like there's only four members, one leaves. I mean, you're just, what's going to happen? So that's the talk. Um, the other reason it crumbled was because of um, CL. So YG really wants to get into the international market. He really wanted to do that. And his first attempt was with Seven. The name of the guy is Seven. And he sent him stateside, he had a very good like future in South Korea. He was actually competing in terms of popularity with Rain, and Rain was like super popular in Korea. But instead of building his career in Korea first, Japan, the usual route, he decided to put Seven in the US and try, like, put him in auditions and whatever. It didn't work. And Seven himself sort of went through depression because of it. He tried again with CL, same thing. He sent her stateside, and but the thing was, and I don't know if you know this, but CL actually signed under Scooter Braun. So Scooter Braun was committed to sort of build her up as a talent, like the next, like the female version of Justin Bieber. But according to stories, YG wouldn't let go. Like YG wanted the final say on everything, and for Scooter Braun at that time, it's like, you want me to manage her, I'm going to have to call the shots. So it was like a back and forth. YG didn't want to let go. Scooter Braun, of course, wanted to have the final say. So nothing really happened. In all fairness, she managed to get into Billboard Hot 100 with Lifted, which is a really good song. Not great, but it's a good song. But because of that, like the confusion as to who's going to call the shots and whatever, nothing really panned out. Um, Sinri chismis. Yes, chismis. Oh, chisme in Espanol. Oh, okay. Probably that's where it came from. I mean, the Spaniards actually colonized the Philippines for 300 years. That's probably where we got the word. Okay. Although I have fallen for XG, XG is great. Like XG is, I'm getting into them. See, they're great. They're great. 17 gaining popularity in the US, and now some members will be joining the military. Good thing there are 13 members, but Minggu is important to them. And one member is starting to promote in China, right? Like he went home to China. He said he's going to start promoting there. I like Mamamoo because their vocals are superb, but I don't follow them. I love Solar. I love all of them. So I love Solar, and he's my favorite. She's my favorite. Sorry. She's my favorite. Solar is my favorite. And I love their vocals. I love their live singing skills. So I definitely love them. According to their CEO, right before COVID, they were set to sort of expand to the US, and then COVID happened. So that spoiled their plans. Um, Sugar Cookie, I only have time for BTS. XG are really, they are good. They are good. Seems pretty dumb not to let the guy know who knows the US market industry not to call the shots in the US. That's what I thought. I mean, if you look at, I'm sure, okay, so I'm sure Scooter Braun has his failures when it comes to managing artists, but if you look at his track record, it's a pretty good chance. If I'm going to take a chance at on anyone managing the career of somebody, then it would be Scooter Braun. And besides, at that time, CL was not like super young. She knew her. She had like she's full whole already. Her values were intact and all, all of this stuff. So I'm pretty sure she would not fall into the trap of Hollywood teen evil or whatever. So I mean personally I would have given him control, but Scooter Braun control, but YG wouldn't. Those are talks like chismis. um 13 members are too many. They're too many. They are too many. So I think CL makes a great actress. She should pivot seriously. I like Wasa. I like Wasa too. Even I had heard of Rain long before I really heard of K-pop and years before BTS found me. It was actually pretty like his leap towards Hollywood. That was pretty great. I mean, having done the Ninja Assassin movie was pretty good leap. He left JYP though, but he to this day maintains a very good relationship with JYP. I can't believe one of the 21 members lost so much weight. Bomb? Park Bomb?